Okay, so this is my case study, Internet Use Violations by Melissa McNeil. This is Educational Law 2016. So first thing I had to do was identify the problem and analyze the data. So what do I know? I know that Roosevelt High School is an affluent area. I know Dr. Steve Forbes has been principal at Roosevelt for 9 years. I know Dr. Steve Forbes was recognized as Principal of the Year 2 years ago. Ms. Walker has completed her master's degree, plus another year of post-secondary work. Ms. Walker has very high academic expectations, which could be causing high levels of stress in class. And parents are calling concerned about Ms. Walker's stringent expectations. And lastly, of course, someone created a website that included highly suggestive comments about Ms. Walker. What do I need to know? Is Ms. Walker part of a mentoring program through the school? This would provide her with support or resources for her first year in school. What are some of the strategies Dr. Forbes has recommended to reduce classroom stress? Does the school district have a responsible user technology agreement to hold students accountable? And what was in the content of the website? Based on A and B, what is the problem? Couldn't really narrow down to just one. Obviously, Ms. Walker does not feel very safe due to the website that was possibly created by a student, which may have threatening information. Ms. Walker's class is rigorous and causing concern with parents, as some students' grades are lower than they are used to receiving. And Ms. Walker is a new teacher in a successful high school and may not have the proper resources to help her students succeed. So category 2, my proposed plan of action with appropriate strategies for implementation. While the most obvious problem is the inappropriate website created, there are underlying issues that need to be resolved as well. So the first one would be find out who created the website. Number 2, discuss with Ms. Walker the reasons for why her class has so much stress. And 3, determine if Ms. Walker is participating in some kind of a mentorship. As far as the website goes, start by getting a list of students that could be angry or frustrated or have shown signs of disrespect toward Ms. Walker. Involve the technology staff to start investigating who may have created the website based on the list that Ms. Walker has provided. When students are found, assuming they are, follow disciplinary action based on the depth of the threat. So, is it rude remarks or are they actual violent threats? And 4, making a clear statement announcement that this behavior is unacceptable, not just to the students involved, but to everybody, and stress the consequences of such an act. Strategies to implement plan for a classroom environment. Set up a time to meet with Ms. Walker regarding her classroom environment. Explain to Ms. Walker that while expectations should remain high, it's just as important to create those student relationships, to create and build trust. Provides opportunities for Ms. Walker to attend classroom management resources to help decrease the amount of stress in class. And last, support Ms. Walker by regularly providing positive and constructive feedback during observations. And last but not least, mentoring. Determine if Ms. Walker is currently involved with a mentor in the building. If so, explore topics and resources that her mentor and Ms. Walker can work on to help Ms. Walker feel more at ease in her new environment. And last, support Ms. Walker with her induction program if she's involved with one. And if not, get her involved with one. So that way she can increase her student relationships and maintain those high expectations. As far as category 3, resolve the issues on promoting the success of all students. So how is this resolution best for the students? Well, for one, by determining who created the website, you hold the students accountable. You provide appropriate consequences for their actions. This establishes boundaries for students and for others. And when students understand their boundaries, they can make an informed decision. By supporting Ms. Walker in her classroom management and student relationships, this would ultimately create a more positive classroom and give Ms. Walker tools with her students to thrive and succeed, which would be a win for students, teachers, and for parents. Some facts to support the resolution. Well, first, it's clear that Roosevelt High School is successful, and its environment clearly helps with student success. In addition to Ms. Walker's high expectations, stress could be coming from home as well. As a new teacher that has high expectations, Ms. Walker may not be familiar with the culture of the school and how to cultivate those relationships with students and parents to reduce the amount of classroom stress. So, second, it is stated that Ms. Walker has not fully implemented Dr. Forbes' suggestions to improve her classroom environment. This could be for numerous reasons. She may not have other resources to help her with class rigor or management. She may not have the time to implement some of these ideas. As a new teacher, you have to get your bearings, and this may not be on top of her list right now. And last but not least, she may not agree with the suggestions. So lastly, students that created the website have not been made aware of the consequences nor the repercussions of such an action, and found by threatening the teacher it may cause her to leave, or at the very least, make her feel afraid of her students. So they wanted to get a reaction from her. Category 4, debriefing the problem. So these are my reflections, my thoughts, feelings, and values based on the case. So thoughts. The first thought that went through my mind was, how much teaching experience does Ms. Walker have? So while the case stated that she was a beginning teacher, it did not indicate what her actual experience was. Is this her first year overall? Is this her first year in high school? Maybe she's used to teaching at a college level. My second thought was, what grade level is she currently teaching? If she's teaching freshmen and sophomores, her expectations may be too high, but if she's at junior or senior level, she should not decrease her expectations, because this is preparing kids for college. What exactly was on the website? That's kind of like the question of the day. So were they truly trying to kill her, or quote unquote making her disappear? Being able to read the website would give me a better understanding of the content and the intent. My feelings, first, I couldn't help but feel a sense of entitlement from the students and the parents that are complaining. From a teacher standpoint, it feels as if Ms. Walker, being a new teacher, is giving students something to work really hard for, and kids may not be used to working really hard for their grade. Next, I was also frustrated by Ms. Walker's initial reaction on the website. I take her seriously, but from the statement, it didn't sound like a serious threat, and I felt that her reaction was a bit of an exaggeration. And last, I felt lost because there was a great deal of missing information, and with most of my solutions, I had to assume much of the data, which I don't like to do. And my values, first, I value Dr. Forbes' mission for his high school. As a principal, I aspire to work really hard, hire quality teachers, and inspire current teachers to better themselves. Second, I respect Ms. Walker's passion for her subject. She went to get her degree, she got her master's, and she even did post-secondary work so that she could be fully qualified to teach those specific topics. And lastly, I would value Ms. Walker's safety and the safety of other teachers. And so in this case, all teachers should feel safe around their students, and have an understanding that threatening online is no different than threatening in person. All right, so 3 unresolved issues. The first unresolved issue for me was knowing what kind of mentoring program was in place for Ms. Walker. What kind of support does she have? What resources can she use for her ability to teach her kids? While she's highly educated and knows her content, how is she learning the culture of the school? How is she creating those relationships? The second unresolved issue was knowing if students signed an agreement for their online use. Did they sign something that said they were going to be held responsible for these types of actions? The last issue was the content of the website. Without knowing exactly what was stated, there's no room to interpret. While Ms. Walker took it as a death threat, Dr. Forbes saw it as a prank. So category 5, component 1, which is, how was I building as a building leader? Did I act with integrity and in an ethical manner? So first, strategizing a plan to discover who created the website to begin with was an ethical way to solve the first problem, so as to not outright accuse the first student on her list. Next, considering all angles in the situation is a way to act with integrity so as not to side with either students or the teacher and take an unbiased approach. Last, being responsive to her concerns demonstrated integrity as well by being responsive to her feelings. And on component number 2, how did I respond? By treating people fairly, equitably, and with dignity and respect. Well, first, working with Ms. Walker about her classroom rigor demonstrated dignity to equip her with confidence and tools. Next, being able to be an available resource for Ms. Walker when she found out about the website, being a good listener, responding to her needs, making her like she feels safe, demonstrated respect for Ms. Walker. In addition, not accusing specific students right off the bat, but getting suggestions from Ms. Walker directly, demonstrated equitably for all those students that may be involved. And lastly, discovering if students signed a user agreement to hold them accountable, demonstrates respect for the school system. And last but not least, example of how as a building leader, I demonstrated personal and professional code of ethics. The first step that demonstrated personal code of ethics was hiring a teacher that was highly qualified to provide students with a deeper understanding of specific concentrations. Next, allowing Ms. Walker to continue her high expectations, yet giving her tools and resources to help her increase the morale in the classroom. And lastly, following through with disciplinary action for the students that created the site, and sharing the experience with others to warn them about the consequences of such an action demonstrates my support for staff and their methodology.